In today's video, we're going to be looking at how to interact with the police when you're flying your drone, which will keep you out of cuffs and into the sky.
Chat. Come on.
We're all aware of the problems that drone flyers are experiencing when interacting with police worldwide. We have authorities, police departments, local authorities, councils, etc., believing that they control the skies above us, when of course us drone flyers know that it's national authorities such as the CAA and the FAA who control the skies above us.
Can I have a word, please, sir?
Now, in today's video, I'm going to be talking to you about how to deal with people like this, police officers who sometimes will approach you to find out what you're flying and whether you really should be there or not. Hi, officer.
Can you show me exactly what you're doing?
Hey everyone, my name is Sean and welcome to Geeksvana. As the years pass, one thing we can be sure of is there will be more drone regulations to enforce, and this means we will see an increase in police officers approaching drone flyers for a variety of reasons. The UK CAA and the US FAA do not have their own army of officers to proactively enforce regulations, instead choosing to have police on the ground deal with the issues for them. This, in combination with the variation of knowledge from officer to officer and, shall we say, the level of professionalism, means it is going to be easier to become another Jason Harrison of Michigan or Jonathan Dodson of Nashville and find yourself on the wrong side of the law when it actually appears that no laws have been broken. The following are my 5 tips for avoiding confrontation with law enforcement and keeping you enjoying your hobby. Before we begin, please keep in mind that these are my personal thoughts and opinions. The only person in the crosshairs is the drone flyer in the middle of the situation, and you'll need to adapt the opinions to the situation you find yourself in. Okay, first up, whilst keeping an eye on your drone, inform the officer that you're going to need a few minutes to safely bring the drone back and land. Let them know that you will not likely be able to interact more until the drone is landed. In my opinion, it is essential that you keep your focus on the drone and getting it down safely. What you do not want to happen is to continue the conversation whilst flying and get flustered, making a critical error and potentially even crashing the drone. The officer should respect the need to concentrate. Number 2, once the drone is on the ground, find out what the officer wants. Who are they? Is the officer approaching you off their own interest, or has there been a complaint? Listen to all the information you can at an early stage. This will help assess the seriousness and angle of approach. Is the officer simply checking on something because a passerby has complained? Or does the officer hate drones and is looking for an opportunity to make a point? This is an important step which will help you in the coming minutes. Tip number 3, explain to the officer what qualifications you have and whether the drone is registered. Try to offer this information fairly early on in the interaction, as this could allay a lot of the concerns the officer has, as well as let them know that you know the regulations. So here's my flyer ID, and that's the part to show that I've passed the test and I'm able to fly a drone in the UK. Right. And that's my operator ID, which shows you that the drone is registered. Should it go missing? Yeah, that's right. That's recorded to my name. Yeah. Which obviously you can check, and you can see that I'm perfectly legal to fly here today.
Okay, we will do.
This will differ depending on your country, but as the clip showed, here in the UK and the EU, it is a good idea to show the officer in a proactive manner your flyer ID, which you should have on you at all times when flying a drone, and of course the operator ID on the drone itself. Even if you're flying a drone which is not required to be registered, it's a good idea to bring with you either a print off of the regulations stating that, or have it easily to hand on your phone. Another tip is to keep your insurance details with you if you choose to have drone insurance. This is another key factor which will show the officer you are responsible and a knowledgeable drone flyer. Number 4, whatever the approach the officer takes, stay calm. Try to fact find as much as possible. Remember, unless the officer is detaining you, it is perfectly acceptable to simply stop flying and leave once the basic conversation is over. This is an area which will be down to personal feeling and opinion. Some would look to argue the point with the officer, and I've no issue with that at all. Depending on your background and knowledge, you may decide to take the officer to task. However, my personal advice is that even if you feel the officer is wrong to ask you to stop flying and move on, it could be a smoother course of action to simply record the officer's details and contact the police force afterwards to raise the concerns that you have. Regulations are constantly changing here in the UK, and over in the US, states are attempting to enforce powers simply not available to them over the drone hobby. So keep in mind that the officer might have been misinformed or even working on out-of-date information. Number 5, be free to fly another day. As early on in the conversation as possible, once the basic questions the officer has regarding a complaint are dealt with, look to move on. If in doubt, ask the officer if you're being detained. If they say no, then politely assert that you would like to leave. This leaves less open to interpretation and means you are able to assess the situation more calmly at home. Then you can decide whether to contact the police force to make further inquiries or even lodge a complaint. In 3 out of the 4 times I have personally been approached by police in the UK, I have even taken the step of calling the officer involved afterwards to explain my position further and thus providing a happier outcome away from any potential confrontation. These are my 5 tips on how to avoid being arrested whilst you are flying your drone. I hope they're of some use, especially to the newer flyers amongst us. There are some situations where these tactics simply will not work still. These include dealing with an unreasonable officer who will not move from their misconceptions, or of course the fact that you were flying illegally. So I suppose my unofficial 6th tip here would be to ensure you're flying within the rules. In most countries that would include staying within line of sight, below 400 feet, and here in the UK also includes staying 150 metres away from congested areas and 50 metres of uninvolved buildings and people. Here in the UK and EU, our drone laws are set for some pretty heavy changes and updates, which will mean with the right qualifications you could fly your drone within 5 metres of uninvolved people. For more on these changes, now due at the end of 2020, click on the link in the description to our EU drone laws playlist. If you have enjoyed this video and would like to see more drone and tech videos from Geeksvana, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell to get the latest videos first.
This is really good. Might actually get one of these myself.
Please remember to like and subscribe.
All right, you're still here. No in the seat.